And are we live? Yes, we are live from the Blender Animation Studio, Institute Foundation, Cloud, Network, you name it. We are here, we are live. And I first, I always ask you if everything is okay with the sound, but this one in particular, we're in a new setup. It looks like the same, but actually we're in a new setup. I have a computer streaming, which is not the computer I'm using. So actually, I am now compiling and using Blender. It can crash, you can reboot the computer without. It's amazing. So welcome to Blender.Today, live number 88. Yes, the number doesn't mean anything, doesn't really mean much, because the version is Blender 2.82, the one that in a week, next week, Thursday, should be prepared for release. What is it? It's basically just getting it ready, just getting all the release logs, the release notes, the documentation and everything, but Blender itself should only get fixes. We are in Beacon 3 already for a few weeks. That means only bug fixes, and that's going to continue until the very last moment, basically. So February 6th, next week, Thursday, should be the moment where we switch to the Beacon 4. Beacon 5 is the release itself, which should happen if everything is okay. It should happen around 13-ish of February. So yeah, let's switch. How are ya? You see, I'm compiling Blender and it doesn't crash. Yes, that's nice. Let's see how to move on, because there are news all over the place. Remember, this is live, by the way, so you can actually just ask your questions on here on Big Blender Projects, the thread opened by Kai, thank you very much, on Blender.Today, the Blender community website. So here you can ask your questions, and I'm going to try and answering them towards the end of the show. Maybe I'm going to have someone to help, maybe Dalai, hopefully, because today I got this friend to help out, but he doesn't talk much, I think. So what up? What do you use? I use 2.4. Horizontal layout was better. Actually, that was one of the reasons why I stick with Blender 2.4 before switching to 2.5 for the horizontal layout. In which planet? Anyway, let's move on. I have a list of things to share with you, actually, but I gotta get used to this new layout that I actually have another computer here doing the streaming. So first things first. What is first? The community is first. So last week I mentioned it, but just a reminder, this weekend in Paris, there is a Blender Day Paris where you can go and hang out with other French-speaking users of the community and hang out and have fun. And there is already a whole day planned out. So go and hang out. But also, if you can't make it to Paris, maybe you can make it to FOSDEM, the Free and Open Source Software Developers European meeting that happens in Brussels. So maybe it's close by. And Tom Rosendahl, if you heard that guy, creator of Blender, CEO of the Blender Foundation, he's going to give you a presentation about 18 years of Blender open source projects. Also, there will be a presentation by Dalai. Maybe he can mention it later on. But yeah, that is that's what's going to happen. So 2 conferences focusing. Of course, this is free and open source, so it's not only Blender, but it contains Blender talks. So yes, community. That's what matters. So how are you guys, everybody? Everything in the chat is okay? I see a lot of action here. A lot of people around here. No pressure, Pablo, no pressure. Let's move on. So I already mentioned Blender 2.82. It's already prepared. And let's see what's new more recently here on the actual website. I'm not gonna share a screenshot of what I'm sharing, because I'm gonna read from the developers Dev Talk forum. So you can read it with me. Go to devtalk.blender.org. I'm gonna find the Blender development meeting notes section down here, where you can see and hear You can read on the 27th of January. That was today, this morning. So the news here, there is many things to read about. I already mentioned these ones about the announcements, the post that the live is working on it actually right now on code.blender.org. He actually mentioned it last week, so we got the news first. The that's a lot of Cyrillic in the chat. I can't read, sorry, but if it was maybe we can chat in English. I can't read unfortunately that. Maybe I can get Sergey to actually translate. So the post by the lie is going to highlight the 2020 big projects. We're going to talk about them in a bit, but basically it's those projects that have to happen in 2020, that there is no way around it. Yes, or español, like not spaghetti says. I also speak Spanish. Then Beacon 1, we are in Beacon 1 for Blender 2.83. What does it mean? This is mainly a message to all the developers out there that are watching this, that you should get your code in Blender Master as soon as possible. Don't wait until the end of Beacon 1. Tracker curfew. That is it's a success so far. If you go to the blender.org/dashboard, you're going to find the graphic down here that is actually now in 1167, and it's doing pretty well. So basically this is tackling, I already mentioned a million times, but it's tackling all those issues that been long-standing in Blender forever. Some of them are real issues, like actual bugs, and sometimes they are even like, I don't know, an issue on Blender.org from 2013, or in Blender game engine from 7 years ago. Sometimes those bugs slipped and they make it to this big list. So, but actually most of them are bug fixes. All right, let's move on. The other big thing is the changes, and the changes include, for once, Blender Sequence Editor. So yes, the Blender Sequence Editor has do you see that? I actually open Blender in the exact size for that. Did you know that? And for the size to fit in this screen. That is, if you run Blender with at the end you add --window-geometry, and then you specify the position like 00, and then the size, so 800 by 600. You can read the docs for that. So, all right, let's get on. Video editing. Blender video editing capabilities get improved, or I think this right now it's not very exciting. It's exciting about the future, because from now on the sequence editor, the video sequence editor, has tools. So that means that it has the same concept as you can see in the 3D view, or more recently in the image editor. So now you can also do it in the video sequence editor. So yeah, it's not the most exciting. It has like two tools, one for selection, one for cutting. So you can actually switch to cut and then just do a bunch of cuts. But imagine actually all the potential, if more tools switch to this mode, I think I'm going to be using it more often. I've been testing and playing with DaVinci Resolve in the past, and they have this concept of like a tool, like an active tool. You just switch between them, and you are in like cutting, trimming, or the blade mode, or like even like just a bunch of modes. So it's a very nice approach. So a lot of potential still in how do you call it, in pumpers. It's in baby steps. But great job, Richard Antalik and Alessio Monti di Sopra. What an amazing last name. Mine is boring. It's Vazquez. All right, user interface, more improvements by William Reinisch and Harley Axon. So Graph Editor's sidebar layout is now more consistent with other editors. This doesn't really need to show much, but the animation editor, the sidebar that you can see when you actually have some animation, on a channel selected. For example, when you're in the action editor, or when you are in the graph editor, for example, for Shift F6, yes, for like the modifiers and view, they should be more consistent. I don't have a before and after, but it should be more consistent with the actually, yes, we should see it. Maybe I'm playing with fire here because I'm visiting the wiki for the release logs. We should see the new release logs. So I think Blender here, release notes, nice, 2.82, and then user interface, and we should see some of the improvements that were done. So here, let's see the brush setting overhaul. This actually happened a time ago, but now the brush properties are more consistent now. They haven't changed. The graph editor also, selection, it seems like these new features didn't make it here yet, but you can check in the wiki all the new features. These big, huge features are going to be used for the release notes when they happen, not too long from now, in maybe next week. Well, they should be next week actually, because we're going to be in Beacon 4. So yes. Let's see. Where is the usual Pablo energy? You seem too chill today. I am I am too chill. Sorry. Let's pump it up. All right. So next feature, rename view. Yeah, renaming. Some tools got renamed for sake of making them a bit easier to understand and avoid confusion. But this is gonna bring confusion with the developers that we usually. With the users that are already used to how things are called. For example, in Blender, in the past, if you wanted to jump to the playhead. So for example, if you were over here and you had the view away from the frame, you could do view frame. Now that wording, view frame, what is it? If you're in animation, view, it can, in an animation software, view can mean like the camera view, or what is it? Is it a frame of the camera, or is it a frame of the, English doesn't have two different words for that apparently. And this tool got renamed to go to current frame. That is much more understandable, something more clear. Then also lock time to other windows got renamed to sync visible range. So you're basically, it's the same functionality, nothing has changed except the name. So lock time to other windows, it didn't really make a lot of sense because windows could be, it was actually editors, and also, is it for other windows, main windows, non-secondary windows? Not sure. What else? Text editor layouts in the header, new icon for duplicating to a new window, and the info editor got some colors update, which basically make it match the colors of the info with the outliner. So not a lot, just the tiny changes. Then the sculpting, more renaming. Remember last week, I think I mentioned when I was showing the topology tool, the one that changes the shape, changes the topology, but not the shape. It's like slides, the vertices. Now it got renamed to slide relax. So you're going to find it if you are in sculpt mode. In the tool down here, you're going to see the name slide relax. The icon is still the same. So if you were used to recognize the icon, nothing has changed for you. Let's see. Again, 3D viewport, support auto perspective when snapping in viewport orbit. Okay, I haven't tested that one, but thank you, Artem, for the patch. I haven't seen your name before, I think. So if you are new here, welcome. And the last change, well, actually, because the library and platforms upgraded, we actually talked about it last week. But this new improved anti-aliasing of diagonal lines in overlays, it's a much welcome to make everything nice, buttery smooth. So again, you can here read the progress of every Blender developer that is hired by the Blender foundation that is working full-time or part-time. So those developers are here thanks to the Blender Development Fund. So if you're part of the fund, tap yourself in the back and go check out and stalk all your all the Blender developers just to see what they've been doing, what they've been up to. The future is awesome. Blender is about to get the interface controlled by let's see if I can find it here, by color management. That is a thing that has been bothering a lot of people for ages, and there is a work in progress here where you can basically see it working. So you have the interface, Blender interface. You go to change the display device. In case you missed it, it just became darker. But basically, you change the display device, and that not only affects the like Blender's the viewport and everything, but also the interface, which should be the case, right? You want everything to change, the color pickers and everything just to be affected. And there is also a view transform where you can just change the viewport itself. So at least you have both. You can have match the device you're using, like the kind of the screen, the monitor, and then the viewport itself. What else? There is some work. This is actually the folder. We have a shared studio weeklies, and in the weeklies folder we have all the weeklies. So every week we do a meeting. This is some nice trivia for you. So you can actually go to 2017. Like, let's see, what was happening in October? Well, that's another of action. What was Pablo doing back in 2017? October. I was working on the website for the Daily Dweebs. I was working on Blender.org. Interesting. And I was doing websites mainly. So yeah, this is how we keep track of what we've been doing since 2017. But we have some backups from before. But last week, the Julian developer, we got two Julians, been working on the fixing. It's a fix. The feature basically is to fix a flickering that happens when you hover over the widgets. So you see, you hover about some widgets and it's very hard to see, but the interface flickers badly. And he fixed it. And not only that, and I don't know if you notice how much more fluid it is when he moves. Not only the flicker got fixed, but the hovering over the mouse, over the widgets, it stops it doesn't recalculate the whole viewport all the time. And especially if you were using Eevee, that was even more slow. So he showed it last week as like, I fixed the glitch, but actually I was like blown away. I was so used to having a slow or laggy UI, but it's just when hovering some of the widgets. Now, not anymore. This is a new one. Bam. So nice. That's huge. That is, it's a patch that it's under review, so it's not there yet. But pretty promising. The future is awesome. That was the name of the section. So we'll see how it goes. And as soon as possible, it's gonna be part of Blender. All right, now let's move quickly into the topic of the week. The 2020 projects, the project for Blender 2020, the big project for Blender 2020. So these are those projects that once Dalai, maybe he already published it? No, it's not there yet. So once Dalai published this article, he's going to explain it a little bit better. Maybe now if we get Dalai soon, he can also explain it. But basically those projects, they're big projects. Some projects in Blender 2020 for this year, they're like big in the sense that there is no way we can do without them. Some of them, name it. Undo, for example. We can't continue with the undo as it is right now. We can continue without maybe I don't know, the sculpt tools are great, right? Like it's amazing. I hope Pablo continues to work on it. But I don't know if Pablo decides to work on something else, the sculpt tools can hold on until this other project is done and then continue back and forth. It's all part of the big, if he wants to work on brushes or in painting, it's part of the same system, but you get the point. But Undo, for example, there is no way. If one developer stops working on that, then another developer has to take over. There is no way around it. Particle nodes, for example, the particle system is on end of life already since 2.80. So it means that there's no new features and no other than fixes in Blender for the particles, which is it can't happen. So that's another big one. So one of those, let's go through all of them. The multi-resolution. So that's something that is being broken for a while right now. And in 2.81, the way of not fixing, but trying to avoid the issue that if you sculpt in a lower level, for example, if you have many levels of subdivision and you decide to you're sculpting level 6, but you decide to go back to level 2 and sculpt again, those changes wouldn't propagate, or it could even screw up your mesh. This is very dangerous. So the option to go back for sculpting in levels in multi-resolution was removed. So if you've been missing it, it didn't. You were like the John Travolta meme gif, like, where is the sculpting for multi-res? All right, that's why. So this project is now, it's one of those big projects of 2020. Pablo Dobarro will be working on it together with Sergey Sharivin. So Sergey is, him, he's worked on the development, on the multi-res in the past and DepthCraft, so he knows Blender inside out, and it's a great team, to work on it. So basically, use cases, sculptor working in different resolution levels, or animation and playback of base meshes. For example, if you want to have that was the main reason why multi-res was added, to allow models to have for example, high level of detail. And then animators could be like, okay, I just want to see the layout for animation. So they go back in levels and they animate with the layout or with the low res, low poly version. All right, so let's see. Next is, I didn't use my sound. So, okay, next big project of 2020, library overrides. Yes, library overrides is the project that was implemented in 2.81. You can actually see it in the release notes, but it has its issues. So right now there is a proxy way of doing proxies. So in object relations, you can make a proxy when not in a cube, but when you are working with linked characters, for example, or groups. Make proxy, and you also have make library override. But in the future, library override should take over everything, but they both live there because they have their issues. So yeah, that is a big one, and we can't move on in 2021 without this project. The next project, it's particle nodes. I already mentioned particle nodes is end of life, so there needs to be a new particle system, and that work is already being taken by Jacques Luc. He's the creator of Animation Nodes, the add-on that is so popular, and he already worked on the functions branch for over, I don't know, a year, maybe less than a year, because he was here for 1 year in Amsterdam and he had to do a whole bunch of 2.80 cleaning up and helping out. So actually less than that, but the branch is pretty promising. It's already very, very advanced, and it's a mix of the functions branch and particle nodes. So yeah, nodes. All right. let's see if I can bring back the chat here just to see it. Is everything okay now? Maybe I can bring the chat back, and let's go back to be a bit. Thank you, Dimitar, for taking care of this issue. That's so nice. We get spammers. That is like important. People only get spam. So okay, let's continue. The big one, new object types. So in Blender you can add things such as a mesh curve surface, which at this point they should just go away and be reimplemented. But we still have them, surfaces, NURBS. Metables, they're amazing. Text, grace pencil objects, which is new in 2.80. Armatures, lattices, empties, images. This is also new, but it is actually basically just a empty with a few settings, but it's an image reference or background. Lights, light probe, new object in 2.80, and that's pretty much it. Camera, speakers, force fields, which are basically just empties with physics, and that's all the list we can have. Collections are also an empty with a dupli, but there are some objects that really need their own type, that they deserve their own type. Two of them are volumes. A volume can have its own properties. So this is a work that is being tackled by Brecht. So it's pretty nice to see him involved because, for example, you can have a smoke modifier could use it, or OpenVDV. You could attach an OpenVDV data cache to the object. Isn't that great? So yeah, new volume data block similar to the mesh with an OpenVDV volume data structure with an arbitrary number of attributes. Render by cycles and Eevee, first at the dense volume as we have now, and later with native sparse volume rendering. I have no idea what I'm talking about, but should ask Brecht. Volume objects will have modifiers. Nice. That is interesting because new object types can have their own modifiers, such as, for example, Grease Pencil has its own modifiers. It means that if we add another object type, they can have their own. So what is the other object type that could benefit Blender a lot? This is the hair, because hair is its own creature. Hair is not only it's not a mesh really, it's not a curve. It can be both, and it should be more flexible. So hair, it also could have modifiers for like child hairs or curls or physics even. It could be its own modifiers. So pretty exciting that there will be a new hair data block similar to the mesh with curves and curve keys. Hair objects will link to a mesh object to position hair on. Interesting. It will render, of course, by cycles and Eevee, and instancing objects along the hair can be supported too. Ooh, instancing objects along the hair. That is okay. No, you had my interest. Now you got my attention. Pretty nice. My curiosity. I got my attention. That's pretty nice. How's everybody here? Is the chat okay? Yay, I'm happy to see that everything is a bit more sane now. So thank you, Demeter, for keeping it tidy. I'm going to continue with another big topic in Blender, which is, and let me introduce you with performance in animation playback. So yes, that when you press space or Alt A in the 2.7 key map, performance is everything. It really defines how fast you work. If you are previewing, if it is slow to preview your animation, everything else is gonna be slow. So pretty nice for this project to be one of those 2020 big things. Let's try and improve it. So we have Jeroen Bakker working on it. And the commissioners is Demeter. He's a rigger here at the Blender Animation Studio, and Hjalti Hjalmarsson. You probably know him from director of Asian 327, Barbershop, and The Daily Dweebs, and animator in every open movie of the last decade? No, 6, 7 years, 2006, 14, 16, 16. Let's continue. So, what else? Faster than me. Oh yeah, you can read more here in the task. It's task 68908, and you can see here how cache could improve it, but also just the overall calculation of a scene, of the modifiers, of a depth graph, how that should be rethought for 24 FPS at least, because you need multiple characters, right? So yeah. More. And this one, since we're speaking of performance, this is something that people have been asking forever, which is undo. So the name is Scene Editing in Object Mode, but it's what you actually want to hear is undo. And this is related to undo, but it's also working in Blender in general. So duplicating objects in a heavy scene. At the moment, it's kind of slow because it adds an undo step. So if you fix undo, maybe many of the other areas are going to be fixed. The adding objects, duplicating objects, undo in pose mode and in object mode, everything should be much faster just to make the whole scene feel a bit more snappy. So yes, that is another big project of Blender for 2020, whatever that version is going to be, 2.80. This year we should see 2.82, 3, and 4, hopefully by the end of the year. Yes. 3 versions per year. Awesome. Fast high poly mesh editing. Yes, that is another request by the community and a long-standing depth Blender has, which is being able to edit a whole bunch of objects without modifiers, but good performance. So high poly objects editing. Next project is the Alembic USD. So improving right now, we have for 2.82, we have the export of USD working. It's already been, you can test it already from 2.82 beta builds. The idea is to improve now on Alembic. So the whole project started with Alembic. Now the USD is getting added and improvements. Then it's going to be time for Alembic to work on the import of Alembic. And with that in mind, once that work is done, the USD project can have for importing can start can begin. I got distracted again by the spam. So nice. All right. Asset Manager Basics. That is like the big thing that it's been announced since 2.80. 2.80 was supposed to launch with Asset Manager, but it turns out is a very complex project because it touches everything in Blender, right? Like linking and assets and libraries and library overrides, or everything could be an asset. Every texture, every images, the outliner could be made of assets. So in general, the Asset Manager project is now gonna be like stripped down to the basics. So at least this project, the basics, is gonna make it into Blender, and then on top of that, all the other features that are already designed in terms of like, okay, Blender Asset Manager needs, I don't know, versioning and different versions, different variations. So all those nice juicy features, but at least let's get the basics first. All right, I think I covered all the 2020 projects, and I had some tea here, but I didn't manage to drink anything. Wow, Spam is strong today. It's interesting. So yeah, let's continue. What is it? Oh, actually, I think I'm done with the list. So let's go to the questions. I have 20 minutes. So a little bit later, I got a bit distracted today with this thing. So let's continue. The first question by Iri Cao. Hello, Pablo. Happy Chinese New Year. Happy Chinese New Year to you too. Thank you. First question about the official website, Blender.org. I assume I suggest adding a drop-down menu for the download button, in which experimental, stable, previous version, demo files, etc. are located. It would be so much easier to navigate. Could you make a mock-up, please? Because right now, Blender.org looks like this. So download. Experimental, stable. I'm not sure. Experimental is all the way down here. It's not hidden, but you have to scroll down. So most of the people that want to download Blender, they really want just the most stable one. This is not a place that should be advertised that much because, you know, you can mess up your files. Like most of the time, 90% of the time, all these versions are just fine. But it could happen, and you don't want everybody to have those issues. Then previous version demo files are they are down here, and I was thinking we can just move them up here, so at least they are more more visible. Also, previous versions, they are there. I think if you Google Blender or previous versions, you're gonna see it. Maybe if we move that one up, it's gonna be fine. But in general, it's better if people stick with the latest versions available. But if you Google for Blender 2.7, I think you get it. Yes, releases 2.79, and from here you can download 2.79. Oops, you can download 2.79, and it takes you to the actual page. I added this everywhere. So if you're looking at 2.76, you can click here and download 2.76, and it will take you to the website for that version. And from here, you can just navigate this very modern UI where you can get even Blender 1.0. Crazy. Yes, for edX. If you have an edX laying around, I think the Windows one is 1.6T and over. And yep. All right, next question is when will the color ramp node add more input slots? This is such an important node, and yet it doesn't have the inputs for the color slides. It's such a pity. I know, I also miss that so much forever, and I hope we can see it eventually. But yeah, no, I don't know anybody working on it. But I hope if you're a new developer, maybe that's a new little task to add. Maybe the developer that worked on the improvements on nodes, I wonder why this didn't make it, but maybe that would be a very nice little task to tackle. All right, so next question, Michael Soluyanov. Hello, Pablo. At one of the Blender.Today episodes, there was a question about synchronizing viewports between workspaces, and you answered that the problem is that it's impossible to determine which viewport corresponds to another in different workspaces. So I propose a solution to this problem, marking the corresponding areas with the same slot. And I even made a working prototype. Whoa, that's nice. So synchronization of editors between workspaces, and you actually made it work. So you can tag it with a slot, and then you tag this one with the slot, and then when you move, and the other slot will be, it's a nice concept. I wonder if there is a faster way than tagging it, maybe from, or is it, wow, yeah, that's pretty nice actually. Because it keeps everything in sync. What do other people say? Hearts all over the place. Yes, I would also heart it. I'm not logged in here, but it's it's an amazing feature. Even with the, in this case it didn't. Interesting, okay. Huh. Well, this is actually pretty neat. Now I see it. It's yeah, it's awesome. Let's talk about it. All right, so let's move on. I still think there must be a faster way of doing it, but it is amazing. Super nice. Maybe even the Blender default settings could ship with one of those already synced, just as a demo. But yeah, also the slots name, it's already used for render, for image rendering. So I'm not sure if we should use that. Maybe we should use something else. And also maybe it could be like a UI list, like you could make your own and name them, because slots is a bit weird, because you only have 10. But if you had like this, and you could say like, you could name them in a way, and and group them and have as many as needed. With maybe if internally you can run into issues, you can also limit it. For example, the vertex color, it's you can add here, but you will reach a limit of 8 and you can't add more. So, but it's still nice to be able to see them here. Maybe that could be sorted out in the, not in the scene, but in the workspaces. Yeah. Maybe we need to bring the workspaces or here in the view. All right, let's move on. Cool. Hello, Pablo. What is the fate of the feature requests on right-click select? Do they get devs' attention sometimes? And is there a review process for them to get added at one point? Yes, they do, as Mamotron is answering, but they need more communication between a moderator and some developer coordinators. But yes, they do get, it's not like there is developers that like, it's not their first task. The first task is to get rid of bugs. Also, not all of the proposals there are compatible with one another. One of them could be proposing a way of doing things, and another way one could conflict with that one, or with the design of Blender. So yes, it's a place where developers pay attention, especially new developers looking for features to tackle and to learn Blender itself, to get into Blender. Pascal says, hi, when would you guys replace the fake user system with a better one? Asset manager. Eventually, the asset manager should take care of that. Man, I lost tons of actions because I forgot to... Well, the actions issue in the past, Blender used to tag them as as fake users by default, and people were complaining back, I don't know, in 2006, 7, 8, I don't know, long time ago. People complaining that they had way too many actions and they didn't want them. So yeah, Asset Manager should solve everything. LaPC said, hey, it's super nice to have Blender.Today back. Yes, it is. It is. I've been seeing posts about a new hair object type. Maybe it's too early to ask, but how would that work? Hair needs geometry to work. And actually here, as you can see, Momotron linked, and I also mentioned it before. So thank you. Next question, Frostcrack Studio. How do you enable the hair geometry for collision? It should be in hair dynamics, right? So if you add a hair physics, no, should be somewhere here, hair dynamics. That should be enough. If I add a plane and I make this one a physics collision, that should, yes, there you go. They're colliding. So yeah, all right. That hair doesn't have enough resolution, but that is the way you do it. Sila S. So it's not on the hair, it's on the other objects that are collision objects. Hello, Pablo. First, thanks for the roadmap. It's always great to see where Blender is heading, but don't promise too much. Yeah, that's a problem with roadmaps, is that you can promise, overpromise. So that's why the 2020 targets are a bit more conservative, and it's not like everything nodes. It's like, okay, particle nodes and hopefully modifier nodes, but let's not write it anywhere, because otherwise can promise or overpromise. But yes, let's see. I know it's not priority, but will Sergey Sharvin have some time to work on the VFX features he mentioned at Beacon 19? Smart mask vector tools will be so great. Helps to composite, for example, a scar onto a face without modeling a head. Just a video and a scar picture. Yeah, I'm not sure when he's gonna have time, but the idea is that after the the tracker curfew, that developers have a bit more time for. Right now, they're spending 2 days a week at least. Some developers even more, just checking at bugs. That's super boring. It must be boring. Imagine you're a developer. You made the motion tracker, and now you're just looking at bugs of relationships between an object and a lamp. Boring. So I hope, and I think everybody, all developers, want to have at least some time to have fun and code those features that are super fun, mixed with a little bit of bug tracker. But right now, the focus is to get rid of those bugs and then have some fun. So maybe I bet this will fit in the fun part because Sergey loves VFX. All right, next question. Damian. Oh, no, sorry. Frostcrack Studio. Why does your donations use dollars and you store use euro? Because there are two different systems. The Blender store is managed. Well, there are two different systems, basically. And you can also make it the fan.blender.org uses dollars because you are not in Europe. But you can change it from here. You can make it so it uses also euro or dollar if you're into that. So in dollar is much more impressive. I don't know if it's even working, but I know it's working when I checked in from Argentina and it said dollars. Next question, Damian. Hi, how are you? I'm pretty good, thank you. You know what? I'm a bad guy. Why would you say that? Once Blender 2.8 was in beta, you warned everybody not to use it in production. I didn't listen. I used Blender alphas in betas productions ever since. Well, I know a group of people here working on alphas since the dawn of time. Yes, actually they are you can trust them. But yeah, you've been a bad guy. Question, when I export an OBJ file, that's even more bad to still use OBJ files. Stores internally as just a default mesh. I work in Unity and having a bunch of default meshes is not convenient at all. But if I enable material groups export option, I get a very long mesh name like that. Could we have some flexible options in naming meshes on exports? I guess, yeah, I don't know exactly who's working on the OBJ export file, but hopefully there could be like this sounds like a very easy task for someone to tackle to improve this, and it's only Python really. So I think it's Python only, but yes, this looks like a very nice task to expose basically this format and make it an option here. So I call everybody, all developers or wannabe developers and want to try this. It's a very nice feature to have. But maybe there could be a more generic way of doing it. That's a problem. When you want to add a feature, it's like, yeah, maybe every other exporter, because FBX people are going to ask about it. And let's continue. Jai Eddie asks, I know I'm holding at this point. I'll get off the stage now, but can icons for special menus be a thing? Like we can assign any icon beside an option from Blender's built-in library. Icons for specials menu, like right click? Or like, I'm not sure I understand, sorry. Like we can assign any icon beside an option. Like adding icons to the menus. Like for example, like these icons here. Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure how would that work. I would prefer colors, I think. Hi, Pablo, we're Inflated Man. Hi, what can you tell about the release version for adaptive sampling? I'm not sure if there is any. The developer right now is working on UDIM, which is just trying to wrap up the UDIM project. A lot of confirmed bugs during tracker curfew. What next steps after curfew end is to tackle those bugs and try to get Blender at the target of 200 open bugs around ish. But yes, What graphic tablet do you use? I'm using a little Wacom here. Wacom. It's Intuo's tiny, small, non-Bluetooth, or this is Bluetooth, but I prefer non-Bluetooth just to avoid lag. All right, next, invite new people to Blender today. What kind of people would you like to see? Would you like to have an artist just to discuss here stuff? Developers usually help because they can answer the questions that I can't. And also it's fun to hang out with them. But yeah, well, what kind of people, who would you like to meet here? So who is in here? There is like 20 people, but mix of artists and developers. So would you like to have artists or developers? All right, I'm going to go, since I already answered all the ones that have votes, I'm going to go all the way to the bottom because those are the ones that got posted first. So yeah. Let's see. Michael asks, and finally, in the last 4 minutes of the show, I got a visitor. So maybe if you can join here, or you don't have a voice yet. So here.
Hello, everyone. We have a new blog post.
You. I already mentioned everything, actually. So I think there is no need anymore. So is everything okay? Yes, here. So let's see.
You might want to log in as your... Oh!
No, it's here. It's live. It's alive. The live. So, okay, here. Let's... what am I looking at here? Yeah, right, sorry. Here, that's here, that's here. What am I looking at here?
This is intended as a proposal for a roadmap for 2020 with all 10 big projects we would like to tackle as a team. So the whole team will take responsibility over this, of course, on top of regular Cycles development, Grease Pencil, LampR, yada, yada, yada.
NPR, yes, NPR is very important. Let's not forget that. That's pretty neat. So I already went through most of them. So let's see, library overrides. This is, well, I was mentioned also that in 2.81 was added, but yeah, it's still conflicting with hello, wanna come?
I published it. No.
I've seen
You're here. Oh, that was boring. Ton just showed up. That will bring the people views up. But okay, multi-resolution particle nodes, everything, pretty much everything that you already have seen in the in what I explained, but here with nice, pretty pictures. Faster animation play. You put pictures for everything. That's very nice.
had to. That's the job. That's why it took so long. Sorry. Couldn't be here earlier.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. Everybody's freaking out for Ton, but Ton is not here. He was just there. He published the blog post. That's why you said he wasn't published, and he published the blog post. That's so nice. All right. And fast high poly mesh editing. Pretty neat. Alembic USD. Asset Manager Basic. What is the basics of the Asset Manager?
The project's been going on for so long that it had this feature creep, overhanging, scope. So we tried to make it very narrow and make sure it supports something very, very well done. And then we can expand over that later on. So the basics is a way to store, browse, and load user-defined assets. Data blocks, eventually presets, and matcaps. That's still in the discussion. So we to store them, share them, integrate them in your project.
So
very simple and very to the point.
And these are the other projects that are going to continue working. Of course, Grease Pencil is huge, and Antonio Vazquez and Daniel Martinez Lara, Pepeland, Matias Mendiola, the Grease Pencil team, and Charlie, they are not going anywhere. They're still working on it. They are just finishing a refactor of Grease Pencil, so that was going to continue. I will put this one in one of the big ones, but since there is no clear roadmap more than cutout tools and maybe the storyboard tool also, just to be safe. Composite texture painting is also going to be huge.
Yeah, because Pablo Dobarro is still work on texture painting, on wrapping up the sculpting pipeline. We have Brecht helping up, still going back to development for Cycles. We have Clement doing the whole Vulkan support for Blender. So this goes in parallel, but the difference that here, it's kind of stated here that those projects are defined to be a core development.
Yeah.
So the whole team and everyone that wants to help should be aligned on working in those projects and take responsibility together. So it's not only into one developer's desk, but it's commitment from the entire team.
Thank you very much. I will. Let's continue with some of the questions. It's already 6 p.m., but let's do a few more questions. Let's do 10 questions, just because you're here, and because today we had some spam, we had some stuff, some issues. The channel is growing too much, you know. So all right, let's this question by Michael. Love Blender on this show. Thank you. We love you. Blender Kit is not working. Blender 2.82 and 83. Is it a bug or I have something wrong?
I think I have something wrong because I was using for a personal project last week.
Blender Kit?
Yes.
Really?
For my new apartment remodeling.
In 2.82?
In Master, yes.
Master, so that is 2.83 actually. So yeah. Cool. Well, so then, yeah, maybe try, I don't know, reinstalling it or get a build from the build bot and try it again. Maybe it was just that one time. Is it planned or possible to make MantaFlow simulations on GPU like Houdini?
I would say, I don't really know.
I don't really know. We can ask Sebas about it, but it's not. Actually, you know what? Sebas last week watched the live stream. During the week he watched it. He saw the crash that we had in the live stream. We had a crash. And then on the weekly that I talked to you about before on Friday, he said, "Oh, I saw the crash that the guys had with the lie on the live stream, and they fixed it." So isn't that amazing? Yes, it is. I answered myself. Mileporte says, curve editing. In the new versions of Blender are not present any new tools to model by curve. Will they be introduced as modifier, hopefully? Model by curves. Yeah, you can draw.
But I think we have a lot of tools for mesh modeling, but not for curve type objects.
I agree. Good point.
Well, the thing is, the person responsible for the tool system in Blender that's been implementing a lot of tools, Campbell, he's been working on that for so long, and now it'd be so nice if he could work on something more that is the only one that can do, like the performance we're considering for mesh editing.
Yeah.
But the tool system is such a robust state that other developers can now, helping. Doesn't make sense to have someone like Campbell with that level of seniority doing tools for every single component of Blender.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
So we need you, new developer,
need you.
aspiring developer.
Yes, and let's get the heavy guys that have been working on Blender development for 20 years to 15 years or so to do the things they can only they can do, like hardcore Blender internals. The scatter tool still doesn't take into account the intersection of the objects. Will this tool be improved? That's another tool that was made by Jack Luke, a insane developer. And when he mentioned it, he made it more like a proof of concept and for everybody, for other people to jump in and improve it. So hopefully that can happen at some point. Let's see. Is Graficola part of the Blender Institute or is it a side project?
Oh, what do you say, Pablo? Because we see in Blender community, right?
It's in Blender community, yes. So no, actually, Graphicol I started time ago with a friend, with Sancudo, Daniel Salazar, in 2005. 2005. Maybe some people were not even born yet.
15 years ago.
Yes, a long time ago. So it's actually older than Blender Nation and other websites, Graphicol. But anyway, this is it's not an official Blender Institute project, even though I work on it and Francesco worked on it and you also worked on it. So yeah, we work on it on our free times on Wednesday, usually at night at like 8 p.m., 9, 10 p.m., 11, sometimes at 1 a.m. We work on our own projects on coding night. So it's our own baby, but it's not an official Blender Institute project.
Do you still maintain any build over there?
I don't maintain my builds, but there are a bunch of people are actually yeah.
I remember using it in the past. As a developer, if I wanted to test something, I would build for different platforms and I would maintain it for some time.
And it's super nice. Like here, Bone Studio is adding every patch he finds, he's adding it. So this is like a massive Yeah, it's insane. Like all the UDIM support, OID, NCPU, viewport denoise, open image denoise. Wow. Yeah. So go play with that one if you want to have all the features. And that also helps developers to test their own features. So I think we answered 3. So, okay, 7 more. Number 7, will the tabs in Blender get any icons? Not that I know.
Not that I know. I don't know if it helps because
it can become noisy, and also maybe for vertical tabs, but it will basically be just like this, which are enums, not tabs. But yeah, maybe for icons. But for this one, I don't see the need yet. If we could have only icons, then maybe yes, so we can have more. But I think horizontally here we have plenty of room. Where we are lacking is here, especially for people that use add-ons. I don't use add-ons, so I don't see much, but some add-ons are just abusing the space. All right, next, why do Blender 2.8 only have 2 themes? 2.7 had like 25 themes. Well, because I haven't especially gone through all the themes provided by the community, and now some of them, they're actually dated and they need updating. So I just need to find the time to go to Dev Talk, to the theme, the call for content for themes, and basically just add the nice ones.
Go over the 382 messages
and and add the nice ones. But yeah, basically just lack of time, unfortunately. Wow, I opened like a bunch of Blenders. All right.
Or maybe this could be part of the asset manager project at some point.
Oh, yes. So you can actually get it from...
repository like Blender Kit or some Blender Foundation hosted. And you just...
Blender Community, graphic code for themes.
There
Bam. All right.
You heard here first.
Yeah, well, the add-ons community is going to come eventually. We're working on a big upgrade to Dilo, which is the system behind Blender Community. All right, next question, number 6, Tobias Kammer. I am wondering why the transform film had the different film stock presets and their look got removed in 2.8, and if there is a plan to bring them back. This one.
The presets they have.
Remember when you used to say like Kodak and all those stuff?
Yeah, why to remove it? So proprietary?
No, I'm not sure. No. I don't know.
We still have them for. We still have those brand presets for camera.
For camera, yeah.
I know I added some for.
I don't know exactly why. Momotron asks, number 5. Hi Pablo, how can I participate in the Animation 2020 project with my studios? Will be much better than Pixar Animation Studios, by the way. At the moment, I don't know. I think the number of requests or requests of the list of features and proposals are already large enough. But
yes. Yeah, and of course, any studio, any artist
is welcome.
It was welcome to get involved in the development process in the modules and be part of their discussions. And DevTalk is a place for that. Blender Chat is a place where the developers meet as well. But it's very it's a very gray area. Like, you're not doing like feature requests for studios, but having studios as partners, trying to think of features for everyone and then as well. So in a way, it's what the Blender Animation Studio does.
Yep. Issues VFX says, I have 3 questions. Oh. When will we getting viewport denoising? There is a patch around, but I'm not sure if there is any plans to implement it for 2.80. Like if the patch is for review, I don't know. Do you know?
Well, I won't say names. I don't know. We just got. It's just so funny. We just got a new denoising option for 2.82, right?
Yeah.
And people want more denoising, so.
Yeah, like in the viewport, like the one that it's was it Stefan that who worked on it here? Viewport denoiser.
Yeah, I was wondering if it's Stefan or Patrick. Patrick is the one who did the optics. The one from Intel.
Okay, no, he's. I still don't have the ad blocker here. Okay, so.
But basically, the development on denoising is still ongoing. So even React wanted to have a go at it, as in to organize everything so denoising happens after the fact in the composing. So I can render and then choose which denoising method do you want. We talked about that in the past.
Yes. I remember a while back you announced that GPUs can overflow into the host RAM. Yes. Is it both CUDA and OpenCL or just CUDA?
I said all of them. No,
Yeah, I
it's
think
just
so.
memory. It's a problem of memory.
Yeah. Are any of the main developers interested in turning cycles into a spectral renderer?
There's a quite long dev talk thread on making that, and Brecht's been there replying everything.
Yeah, well, and there is a thread on Blender artists since 2017.
Oh, there's over on yeah.
So I'm not sure.
So it depends. This is one of those projects
actually,
that depend on the contributors from
the community.
outside the core team. So
like
from the community.
Smilebags is anyone interested. There's now a Windows build on graphic code which contains my experimental branch. So actually there is someone working on it.
And he posted 2 hours ago. Yeah, that's a developer on the dev talk.
Yeah, that's so nice. I hope it doesn't end up in a paid add-on or so. Thank you, Smilebags. Next question, Serge Mayorov. Thank you for your live show again. Thank you for watching it. Question, are there any plans to support text objects better, like the ability to drive animate their contents?
Oh, in a way, the particle node, everything node, the particle node project can help with that.
Yeah, there wasn't there a demo, I think, by Jack? No.
That included text animation? Because people want the classic.
I know, for
the
animation
text,
now it's...
The text coming, and then maybe like matrix, like code, and text shuffling up.
Yeah, there was. I think with animation nodes you can do some crazy stuff. Is it text animation with Blender 2.8 and animation nodes? Yeah, so it is possible with that. I think in Penguin did it, and interesting.
So
anyway.
I think this falls into the whole MoGraph, motion graphics support for particle nodes. So yes.
I think we are in the last 3 questions. So Carter Dry. Hey, since Blender 2.8, we have seen an overhaul of making Blender easier to use in the 3D section, as well as the intro of 2D. Will we see something similar happening in the video editing section in the future?
Yes, definitely. It's one of the community voted projects for this year.
Yes, in Blender conference.
Video sequence editor. A lot of the work, as you mentioned, that the Grease Pencil team is proposing for this year is related to the VSC. So they want to do the whole storyboarding pipeline from the video editor, the viewport, and back and forth. So yes, and we do have like a full-time developer, Ricard Antalik.
Ricard?
Yeah. Who is doing at the moment more bug triaging, but that is for him to work like part-time on the sequence editor and part-time in triaging in the future. So yes.
Pretty good. Sinog asks, hi Pablo, is Animation 2020 on the list of big projects? No, it's not, because Animation 2020 actually has many of those projects in, like library overrides, being able to link multiple, one character and have multiple actions in it. That's part of Animation 2020 because it's part of a basic feature for animating.
Animation playback performance.
Yes.
The big ones.
Animation playback performance. Then the...
I forgot there's another one which is also related.
Asset Manager is also part of a 20...
For pose libraries, of course.
Yeah.
And if you open the post, I can think about other ones. And no, get this out of the way.
Library
multi-res as well.
Multi-res.
Because one of the ideas for the multi-level resolution sculpting is that you still have the base mesh for animation while you can sculpt in high level of details.
Yeah, fast animation playback in editing. So when you are undoing in post mode that it updates fast. Alembic USD is also a big part of Animation 2020 because it means that you can export your meshes as USD to other softwares or import Alembic. So basically it's making Blender friendly, and asset management to control your poses, for example. A pose library is part of the asset management. So yeah, in a way, Animation 2020 is part of the big project because many of those projects involve it.
Last 2 questions.
Last 2 questions. Okay, I think that was the last one, but last 2 questions.
Oh, that was the last one.
No, let's 2 more since they're also in focus here. Cookie Toomey asks, hey, Pablo, I just want to ask about displacement and vector displacement baking in the future.
It's my fault because I wanted more questions, right?
Yes, and now you have to reply in full screen. So take responsibility, man.
Well, I'd say people first would like to have some sort of displacement support in Eevee, and then some sort of baking in Eevee, before we even talking about baking displacement vector for Eevee. Of course, they're even talking about cycles. I would say, let's put it in a simple way. Brecht is back at coding for cycles.
Yes.
He has 2 full days of coding every week.
He is he made cycles basically.
And I would love if he could help to integrate some of the old pending patches we have for baking. And I can't see why not integrate the cycles, the displacement, if possible.
Yes. So you heard it here first. And the last question by Facundo de la Rosa. Hi, Pablo. How are you? I'm pretty good. Thank you. I'm doing great. I'm over time. It's 1.5, 15-minute hour. I'm going to have starting a new live stream in Spanish in Blender hoy. So if you speak Spanish, stay tuned. Facundo de la Rosa, how are you? I have a couple of questions. Do you know if Pablo Navarro, the developer of Sculpt, will rewrite the Topo tools for a better performance?
It would be fantastic, but I think Sergey will be the one doing it. But Pablo is like super aware and concerned about this project. If you go to the post on the 2020 big project, if you click on the Multiverse project, you go to a page where you get to see the project description and the big picture, the deliverables, and that includes the commissioner, which act as a client or someone that's going to make sure, okay, it's actually delivering what's expected. And we had Pablo Navarro doing that part. So unless Sergey consider this as a part of the project and then we start a new one, I would say Pablo Navarro can just help assisting it. I think Sergey is more experienced for that.
Pretty nice. And this is a multi-question. In one of your directs, you said that there is a new hotkey which lets you simplify the switch of tools with its hotkeys without having to press Shift Space. Which hotkey was that? Is Alt. So you can switch to these tools with Alt and the tool, for example, if you want to go to rotate, you do Alt, you do Alt R and you will switch to rotate, Alt S for scale, Alt G for graph.
So strange.
What?
I don't know.
It's kind of, I think you can, once you get used to it, it could be fine.
As long as it frees the space bar and F3 and everything for...
Yeah, you can still do Shift Space. I think it's probably faster if you just leave your mouse, because you don't have to actually click on the thing on the actual tool.
Yeah. Or maybe now we can free Shift Space to search.
No, F3
Everyone's
is
favorite.
fine. F3 is fine. Shift Space should... Control Space. It's just Shift Space is for making the thing bigger. Anyway, that was a long show. Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry for those I didn't get to answer your questions. I tried to answer as many as possible, but let's make it up for it next week. So next week we're talking 3rd of February already.
Yeah, it's going to be the week of Beacon 4.
Beacon 4. What is Beacon 4? What does it mean? I already explained it, but I want to.
So for Blender 2.82, we had Beacon 1, which is when new features get merged. And the Beacon 2, when we fix bugs and remove the features which were not polished enough. And then Beacon 3 is really only bug fixing, very, very strict, which is where we are right now. And then Beacon 4 means it's only preparing for the release. You get the final splash screen in the proper size, prepare the release log page to be more close to the final version, make sure we can publish for Steam, Windows Store, and everything. Bit of PR. So next week is going to be a very nice week.
Thursday, right? 6th.
Thursday is Beacon 4, correct.
Yes.
And the final release is scheduled for February 13.
Oh, wow.
But also next week we have Jacques
Thursday.
Luc in the studio.
Yes. Oh, really? I should get him
maybe you
over.
can grab him here.
I should.
I'll be
All right.
gladly...
Is it on Monday?
He arrives on Monday, I believe.
Oh, all right.
We double check.
I hope. No pressure if you're watching. All right. That's awesome. And that's already next week. What can we talk about next week?
We can talk about the particle nodes with him.
That would be a pretty nice, interesting. Today, I actually spent all day setting up, making this setup, so I didn't get to play with Blender a lot. So, but next week, this should be ready. I think it turned out okay. A bit more spam than usual, but it's that you can't help it. That's out of our hands. Look at a nice dish I have.
We can also have a short report on FOSDEM next week.
FOSDEM. Yeah, you're going to FOSDEM in Brussels.
On Saturday.
Saturday, Brussels, FOSDEM. Free and open source.
European meetup.
Yes.
D
conference.
something else. I don't remember.
I talked about it in the
Developments.
All right, so I think we gotta cut it to 6:20, and I have to prepare for the next live stream. And also, you have to go back to work.
Mm-hmm.
Call it a day.
Sorry, boss.
I also have to go back to work. It's been a pleasure to have you over for this great 5 minutes.
It's always my pleasure. Sorry for being here so late. We're finishing.
You were
everything.
working on the actual blog post. Go check it out. Go to code.blender.org to read more.
I'll make an image now because there's no banner.
It doesn't have a banner.
We can have it all, but you got here first, so
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you, everybody on the live chat for staying until the end. And if you're watching it afterwards, also thank you. Leave a comment. Say what can we ask? I'm trying. I tried to get Jack. What would you ask him about the particle nodes or everything nodes? That was a nice pressure.
I would like maybe the text functionality. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll try maybe to get a live demo from him.
I should
That would
get
be nice.
we should put it on the billboard and then have him test it and show the features. That would be amazing.
We can do it.
Yes. All right. Cool. Back to work. Back to live. Thank you once again for staying, and once again thank you for hanging out.
Thank you.
Gonna
Pablo, thank
live
you, everyone.
with style, like always here. So if you're wearing headphones, watch out, because it's gonna blow your ear holes with epicness. Let's do this again. Monday, the 3rd of February, 5 p.m. Central European Time. If not, check out Blender.org, Blender Foundation YouTube channel. And more spam! Yay! Okay, ciao. Let's go. Bye. In 5. Yes, your ear holes. All right. Bye. Next week, same place, same time. Ciao.